we got somebody out the front window with a pair of binoculars and a zoom lens. We're trying to get a pretty good idea on this thing.
And we copy that.
Good. Houston, Atlanta.
Go ahead.
Terry, we're in the process of taking pictures with the 400. We've got several other pictures as well, but the best view we got was through the binoculars, and the best way I can describe it is there's some kind of reflective cloth or with a metallic-looking type of cloth of a structure that's definitely not rigid, or it's not a solid metal structure. It also has some type of grounding strap coming off of it, a copper line, what appears to be a grounding strap. Doesn't look like anything I've ever seen on the outside of the shuttle, that's for sure.
Okay, copy. That helps. Thanks.
Okay, I don't know if you guys are still tracking it with the camera.
We actually can't see it anymore, Brett.
Okay, it started over window 8, then quickly moved towards the nose of the orbiter, and we tracked it through windows 1, 2, 3, 4, and now it's out sort of out window 5. It's moving away. The last focal length we had was well over 100 feet and opening.
Okay, copy that.
This is Mission Control Houston with Atlantis Commander Brent Jett talking with astronaut Terry Virts here in Mission Control about an object the crew members noted outside the windows of the Space Shuttle Atlantis. Jett describing it as some kind of reflective or metallic looking cloth, but definitely not a rigid or metal object. Seen moving away from the space shuttle at least 100 feet, in his words. The crew also took digital still photos that will be downlinked to Mission Control. This is Mission Control Houston now with a mission elapsed time of 10 days, 20 hours, and 21 minutes. This view of the Space Shuttle Atlantis looking at the robotic arm operations with the shuttle robotic arm attached to the orbiter boom sensor system to continue inspections of Atlantis to ensure that it is in good shape for landing tomorrow. The mission managers, engineers, and flight control team have not determined any areas of interest for this sensor or camera survey of the orbiter, just using the procedure that is in place and the time available to inspect all the critical surfaces of the space shuttle. The instrumentation communications officer here in Mission Control operating the payload bay camera with reflections in the camera lens as it looks past the Space Shuttle Atlantis.
Digital downlink?
We do see that.
Okay. That's looking out in front of the orbiter.
Okay, we're seeing 3 or 4 objects. Can you confirm that it's just the one that's actually moving? The other ones are just reflections?
No, there are 3 objects. The one you see 2 rings right there. They're the ones we kind of had the late tally-ho on. The one down the bottom, that was the one we initially saw that appeared to be foil. So we've got like 2 rings and then the piece of foil. The piece of foil seems to be further in front with the grounding strap on. It seems to be further in front of the other 2, and the other 2 seem to be about the same equidistant from both us and the forward one.
Copy that.
The crew were actually commanding this payload bay camera to look at the objects observed out the flight deck windows.
Atlantis.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how close we are to the trajectory flown by the Soyuz.
And we're asking. We're going to check on that, but while we're waiting for that, we're thinking based on our daylight and KU availability, if we can get back to the OBSS inspection and maybe use the still cameras to photograph these objects.
Yeah, we understand. We're getting back to OBSS.
Thanks.
Good morning and welcome to today's STS-115 mission status briefing. With us this morning are Entry Flight Director Steve Stitch. Also with us is STS-115 Lead Flight Director Paul Dye. Both these gentlemen just coming off console after a day of inspections. We'll go with statements first and then move on to questions. Steve?
Thank you very much, Kelly. Let's see. Talk a little bit about what we did today. Today, of course, yesterday when we were talking about landing, and as you well know, we saw an object yesterday, and mission management team met yesterday, and we spent the time today inspecting the vehicle. We did 2 different sets of inspections. The first one was using the shuttle's remote manipulator system. We looked at both wing leading edges, we looked at the nose cap, and we looked at the under surface of the shuttle. In those inspections with the starboard with the RMS system, we didn't see any evidence of any kind of damage. About the only remarkable thing we saw was that the gap filler on the starboard ET door and the little piece of shim stock on the port ET door was no longer there. So far the inspections are going well. When we left the control center, we were in the middle of our inspections with our orbiter boom sensor system, which we were doing just to get a little bit more confidence in a couple of the areas of the vehicle, primarily the elevon area in the back and then the rudder speed brake. Those are a couple of areas that we exercised yesterday with the FCS checkout, and so we're going to spend a little bit extra time checking the vehicle. And that's a brief summary of what I have, and I'll turn it over to Paul and see if he has anything to add.
Not much more, Steve. I was very impressed today. The crew got up ready to work. They clearly were well trained to go out and do things. They pulled out their PDRS and we got right into a complex set of procedures that they'd never seen before. But you never would have known it. It was just as if they had done those procedures many times. That was both for the PDRS and for when we brought the OBSS out easy later on. like Steve, I didn't see anything that was particularly anomalous from what we've done so far, and I expect the crew's going to be finished and ready for Steve to bring them in tomorrow.
With that, we'll go ahead and start with some questions here at Johnson Space Center. Please remember to state your name and affiliation. Gina?
Gina Sinceri, ABC News. So everyone's buzzing about these three objects that we're seeing. I guess I kind of want to put that into some kind of perspective. How common is that kind of occurrence outside the payload bay when you have things floating around the shuttle? I mean, we're all buzzing about it, but is this a common or uncommon occurrence that we're witnessing over the last couple of days? Paul or Steve?
Well, I'll tell you, I've been flying these shuttles for as long as we've been flying shuttles, and it's not uncommon to see little bits of pieces of things floating out. A lot of times it's ice, a lot of times it's a little piece of lint. It's amazing how something in bright sunlight can look much bigger than it really is. So it's very hard to identify what those little things might be. I would say it's not a particularly uncommon thing when you're concentrating cameras in sunlight, looking out in the payload bay and looking outside to see small objects floating away.
A follow-up, if I may. Steve, are there any other anomalies that you're working outside of clearly the examination of the shuttle and its thermal protection system? Any other issues that you're working today?
No, the shuttle continues to perform beautifully in terms of the system. So the plan for today, we'll go ahead and complete the inspections on the exterior of the vehicle. If we don't see anything anomalous, the mission management team will meet today at 9 o'clock, and I fully expect if the vehicle, if we find no problems with the TPS, then we'll deorbit and land tomorrow. Just to add to what Paul said about the debris objects, typically, when we open the payload bay doors on the first day of the flight, we will see objects that perhaps were left there during processing come out of the payload bay. It is a little bit unusual to see objects maybe this late in the mission. Atlantis did go through OMM before this mission, orbital major mod, and so it had been down for a while. A lot of processing at the Kennedy Space Center. We did do an FCS checkout, or flight control system checkout, yesterday. That does put quite a bit of vibration on the vehicle. A lot of crews come back and report that when we go check that flight control system to make sure that the hydraulics will bypass if we get a bad command, what we're testing is that the system will work if we get a bad erroneous command out. And when our ports on the actuator pop, the crew does report after missions that does vibrate the vehicle, and they can feel that in the crew cabin even though those actuators are back on the wing. So, we are shaking the vehicle up, and perhaps, after FCS checkout, we knocked a few things out of the payload bay.
Okay. We'll go to the Kennedy Space Center now. I understand we have a couple of questions there.
This is Jay Barbary with NBC News. First, Steve, the shim stock that was on the ET attached door, I believe you said that you saw before and it's no longer there. Could that have been the co-orbiting object that we saw yesterday? And for Paul, have you any idea of the number of pieces of space debris up there that NORAD is currently tracking?
Well, let's see. I'll start with the first question. That's one of the things we're looking at right now. And the object that we had yesterday, we're making estimates of how big that object was. Unfortunately, we didn't have a good range measurement, so it's very hard to figure out exactly how big that object was that we saw with the cameras. So certainly it is possible that it's a shim stock, but it's not a 1-for-1 correlation right now because we just don't know the size of that object. So it's a possibility. But we're taking it one step further and doing the inspections today to make sure that there's no other critical piece that we've lost. And I'll let Paul answer the number of objects.
Thanks, Steve. You're the ex-FIDO. I think the NORAD catalog is somewhere around 8,000 objects that they track, but that number goes up and down frequently, and I couldn't be remembering last year's number, so it's in the thousands.